So what if you had something else? Let's say I wanted to add some paint to the rust. Okay, how would I do that? You know, the first thing I want to show you is, it's often the study of a texture or a thing in life that really kind of hits it home. Okay. So here, for example, I'm painting or reverse painting actually this big blotch of kind of wore away paint onto this cube, and it's happened pretty magically. It's not like it's something that I have to really work at. Okay, so let me show you how I do this. First off, you got to understand how things work. One thing, color. If I wanted to put some kind of color on here, what would I choose? I would probably choose something that kind of matches with red, right? You don't want, even though maybe it's not all too real that that color even existed, but I would say, maybe somebody painted teal over rust. Okay. Another thing is darkness. Darkness helps because darkness can be ramped. I'm just gonna cut some stuff out of here randomly. I'm just gonna go in here with an eraser tool with this noise. Okay. And I'm just gonna kind of dirty up the outside edge. Just go like that for an example. And then I'm gonna go in here and cut into this using an eraser, but just a normal eraser, hard edge. I'm using my Wacom drawing tablet to zoom in and out. I'm just making some cracks. These all can be adjusted later. But I have something in the background here that, just allows me to kind of see what the makeup of this is. Not perfect corresponding to this, but just how things are working. Some of this needs to be a little bit less blurry on the outside edge. So sometimes I go in here and just pick randomly things that need to go away. And I'm just going to focus on the middle here. Okay, now let's look at effects, for example. What I need to do is, because this paint needs to be dirtier, if you can see here in the example how it's dirty right in this area. Well, that is an inner glow. And certainly not like this, but, oh wait, yeah, an inner glow. Choose dissolve. And what I would want is not this color, but a darker variation of it. Oftentimes, I'll go just a little bit like that. There we go. I can have it so it creeps out. And I could choose a different contour. What if I chose something like this? That would make it so it's noisy everywhere, right? That one looks good. Another thing is maybe the outside edges are catching light. So for that I use an outer glow. Again, I really don't like how bright these are, so sometimes I'll just turn that down. I just need a small variation of outer glow. Something that's catching light. Take the size down a little bit. And I want more precise for these. And you can see the areas that I took some time on and the areas I did not. For instance, this has a blur to it, so it's kind of blurry. Sometimes I mess around with the contour things. See if there's anything else. I like anti-aliasing it just a little bit. And I want just a little drop shadow, not much. Drop shadow is like one of those things that's kind of cheap and dirty. I hate using it, but if at this angle it makes it the difference. So I don't want to spread it out too much, just a little bit. And now I need some noise because this paint is just perfect. Okay, again, that's where I like using this pixel brush that I built. Let's make a new layer. And this is the HSB. Over here, you can use color, choose HSB sliders, and you can pretty much do just about anything you want. As far as what's nice about this is it just ramps it up corresponding to the color. And whatever pixels you're choosing to make, if I make really large ones, okay, if I make really small ones, sometimes I like to vary it up, so I'm always touching the little wheel thing on my Intos 4 tablet just so I can just randomly go back and forth between bigger pixels and smaller pixels. And then I'm going to just take my eraser tool, hard edge eraser, and I'm going to kind of open these up a little bit. Oh, and that's on this layer. And I want to fix this outside edge a little bit. I don't like how it is blurry. It's going to give it away. I do like how chopped away it is. Sometimes I could leave a little bit of it behind. There we go. Nice patch of old paint on the rust. just to kind of show how that works. And certainly if you wanted higher values of noise, you could do that too. Like if I made another layer and chose the color here and ramped it the other way. I also kind of ramped the S a little bit just for the saturation value, because you got to be very careful with adding the brighter variations here. Some opacity might help, and I might only do this in larger areas in the center. And remember, this can all be turned down. But I do have, I like having a little bit of contrast. You know, the older this paint was, it was kind of hanging around. It might have been bright in its day. But remember how the sun affects paint. You know, it makes it lose its value of color after a while. And it looks brighter in some areas. And then, there we go. That looks a lot better. And one more thing I kind of want to address is the fact that you shouldn't even think about limiting yourself to pixel brushes or anything like that. You know, sometimes, you know, just by randomly going here and around stuff and then turning that down, it helps just make it a little bit more believable. All texture is multiple layers of pixels on top of each other. So if you look at any texture around you, any texture, you should see its makeup and how it works. All right, let's see what this looks like. Of course, I would have to go through the entire process of making each and every, the color map, the spectral map, and the normal map. But I'm just going to show you the one here. This box's UVs are a little bit different. If I look at the UV texture editor, you can see that they're stacked up on top of each other. Okay. That makes it really, really high res. And really impossible to bake it to anything though. That's the only bad thing about it. Okay, so desktop, here's Grunge Cube, and here's my Grunge Paint. Okay. And what I'll do is take my Grunge Paint and add that to my color value. Okay. Ooh, it's really bright, so I would probably need to turn it down. Another thing is it's really uniformed, but that's just a way of making paint on a surface. This is probably a bad application of it because, you know, it's perfectly uniform. Somebody's going to be able to spot that the paint is kind of dissolving perfectly in all areas of the actual design. So, you know, for this, for example, you know, you could take this and lessen it down by going into the exposure of it. Exposure is very powerful, very, very powerful. So, you know, I could lower this down a little bit. Another thing that might help is the image adjustments, hue saturation. You could saturate it just a little bit so the color's just zapped out of it and the rust is just eaten away at the paint. So there's a lot of variations here to learn from. Just know that there's no right answer. There's just a whole bunch of little tiny experiments. Okay. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the painted surface. Let's move on to the next video.